To find out a little bit more about our in-business guest today, Clive Eisenberg, Managing Director of Octet Finance. Mr. Eisenberg, we were talking about your card facility that your company offers for people who are looking to buy goods in China and import them to sell back in the Australian market, and I wanted to know how much money we can spend on the card.
Well, it all depends. I mean, every business is different. So if it's a small business, based on its credit rating and how we assess them, you are given a limit. A limit can range from $50,000 up to $5 million. It all depends on the size and on the structure of the business, its credit rating, as I say. So if it was a very large Telstra business, well, we may be able to provide them with a much higher facility. It's horses for courses.
What sort of rate do you charge on the loan, on the card?
The facility is an unsecured facility, meaning that we don't take mortgages, we don't take debentures, we don't take any form of security, we don't take personal guarantees, just like a credit card or a consumer card. And it's linked to bank overdraft rates. So whatever the current bank overdraft rates, it works out, I think currently it's at 11.5%, 12%. That would tend to be the rate charged by the facility.
And do you add to that rate?
No, that's the rate.
So how do you make money?
Well, how do you make money? You make money by hopefully borrowing money at rates lower than that, or providing your own finance at rates lower than that.
Right. So given the current cost of loaning money at the moment due to the global credit crisis...
Yeah, the cost of funding at the moment within banking areas are in the region of between 6.5% and 7.5%. So... but that's all based on a secured lending situation.
So the big banks are raising their rates by more than the RBA's official cash hikes.
Yes.
Why aren't you doing the same?
Well, we are basically competing with the banks. So I suppose in a way I am doing the same, because my rates are whatever the bank overdraft rates. Bank overdraft rates tend to be for the unsecured lend, and that's exactly what we've linked to.
And so what else do you offer importers?
Well, just like the consumer credit card provides you with rewards, so the more money you spend, the more rewards you obtain. The same thing goes from the business to business transaction. So we provide a visa facility to our clients or the buyers, and they get rewarded by a visa facility, which enables them to go and use that money, whether it's to buy trips overseas or use it for the family, etc. So it's on the exact same principle that you would find in a consumer credit card.
Okay. Now let's just focus a little bit on you now, Clive. In 1988 you founded Scottish Pacific Business Finance. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Scottish Pacific Business Finance was totally a small or SME financier, and we financed working capital of SMEs. We had a significant shareholder in Bank of Scotland, and together with Bank of Scotland we grew quite substantially, geared totally towards the SME market in Australia. By coincidence or irony, is Scottish Pacific was founded in 1988 when we started having pretty heavy liquidity issues around the world and Australia, and Octet has been founded in 2008, where we've got the same banking credit squeeze happening. So,
but despite those squeezes, liquidity pressures, under your direction, the company then went on to become Australia and New Zealand's largest and most successful cash flow financier.
Yeah, I think the issue is we tend to spend all our time on trying to understand this small business market or small medium-sized business market, and if you can understand that and you're part of that, you don't need to provide yourself with the security of whether it's property, etc. And there's no reason why one cannot be successful in that area.
And just off the topic slightly, what are people importing?
Literally everything, from clothing to furniture to hardware machinery to consumer electronics, just about everything is imported. Jewelry, packaging, display goods, it literally is across the board. One doesn't have to look far to see what's coming, especially out of China.
Indeed. And back to Scottish Pacific Business Finance now. You then went on to sell that company to Australia's 5th largest bank, St George.
8 years ago, we sold that to St George Bank. At that stage, the managing director of St George Bank was Ed O'Neill, who unfortunately passed away. He was very much focused on trying to bring St George into the SME side of finance, and Scottish Pacific was a perfect fit. And grew substantially over the last 8 years, and worked very well within the St George area.
So between then and now, what have you been doing?
Well, for the first 4 years, I spent a lot of time I worked at St George, and helped to develop and integrate Scottish Pacific into the St George area, and focusing very much on the small to medium-sized businesses. But I always had this passion about China, because we had seen our whole SME manufacturing base move to China. So 3.5, 4 years ago, I took sabbatical and started spending a lot of time in China, learning Putonghua, Mandarin, and trying to understand why everyone had moved their manufacturing base to China. And in the process also came up with the idea of Octet Finance.
Well, I remember when I was a small girl, my cousin was learning Chinese, and we thought, why is that? And she said, well, it's because one day China is going to be the biggest economy in the world, and I want to be able to do business there, and you've done exactly that.
Well, unfortunately, it took a lot longer for me to understand and learn the language and a little bit of the culture. It's a fantastic thing to have done if you are younger, because it's pretty difficult once you've got to a matured age to learn the language.
How open is China to receiving Western influence within its economy and business?
Hugely open. The huge opportunities. The only problem one has from a Western point of view is that one tends to check, unfortunately, one's business acumen in at passport control instead of using it what you've got here in Australia and taking it and working in China. I mean, there's no. It is a different culture. There is a different business way of doing business, but certainly within the grasp of an Australian businessman, especially an SME businessman.
Clive Eisenberg, you're also the director of listed rental company National Hire and the chairman of Oxford Asia Pacific Investments. Tell us a little bit about your roles there.
Well, in National Hire, I'm a non-executive director, and that has also been an amazing growth from a small, medium-sized organisation to today. It has a significant influence in the equipment rental side of Australian market. Oxford Asia Pacific is like a private equity organisation. We don't invest personally, the company doesn't invest in small to medium-sized businesses in Australia. We source and identify and then call in outside investors.